B. Africa. After Asian continent, Africa is the second largest one. Africa continent was known as unknown continent during 18th century. The continent is divided into two parts due to the Sahara Desert. Both the parts of this desert are not in contact due to the two remote parts of it. There are differences between two parts in the fields of culture, religion, hence political background. Then, colonization in Africa. Courageous European tourist Mungo Park and American newspaper reporter H.M. Stanley had obtained the information of internal parts of Africa. Stanley published the valuable books and gave significant information about the continent to the Europeans. European imperialists had known the continent Africa about its vast area and its minerals at the end of 19th century. Hence, European countries were in forefront in establishing their colonies in Asia and Africa. First one, Belgium. Belgium was the first nation to concentrate its attention on Africa. The second king of Belgium, Leopold, was very ambitious and intellectual. He spent money on Congo region of Africa and established his own free settlement in Congo. In limited span, he exploited the people in Congo, so the Legislative Council of Belgium had taken out the region of Belgium from Leopold's authority and power, and the region was known as Belgium Colony. After this colony, other European nations started to settle and make their own colonies in Africa. Then 2. Portugal and Spain. Portugal was the first European nation which found first permanent colony in Africa on the border of Ghana territory. 3. Dutch. Dutch established their colonies in Orange, Free State as well as Transvaal. 4. French. After that, French brought under their control the region of northern Congo. Up to 1914, French brought under its control and power the region from Sahara Desert of North-South Africa to West Ivory Coast and up to French Guinea. 5. British. British established their marketplace for the trade of slaves in Sierra Leone, and then they established colony for escaped Negro slaves. 6. Germany. After integration, Germany participated in the competition of colonization. Chancellor of Germany named Bismarck established his first colony in West North Africa through his trade policy in 1883. Through the Treaty of Self-Defense between Germany and the Negro King, Germany established its right over Africa. Because of colonialism of Europeans, underdeveloped and backward countries had become weaker and weaker in the fields of wealth, including natural resources. In addition, the European countries had tried to force to accept their culture, religion on the native African. Though there was democracy in European countries, they supported the local monarchy in Africa for their existence forever in Africa. For the same reason, injustice, exploitation raised at a large scale. Its another example was trade of slaves. Now we'll see trade of slaves. African colonies were used ships which were going towards eastern nations to supply materials such as gold, minerals and ivory as well as slaves. Portuguese traders had taken African slaves with them into the nation at first. European people took advantages of backwardness of Africans to make quarrel among themselves and encourage the battle for catching the slaves. The African people who caught were sold as slaves. The common people of Europe, ignorant about this trade, showed their sympathy and also made Negro slaves to escape. The movement started to prohibit slave trade. In America, law was passed against it and slaves were released. Though slavery system was prohibited in America, it was not prohibited in Arabian countries. Their trade of slaves was still existing in Arabian countries. British established their power over the regions of Nyasaland and Uganda and completely closed way of Arabs to obtain slaves. Thinker during the period of Martin Luther King and he himself spent their lives to root out slavery system and racial discriminations. Then decolonization of Africa. At the end of the 19th century, the national integration took place against Western European countries. First one, the rise of middle class. All colonial powers established their educational institutions to give education and to make use of them for administration. This new middle class came to know about general conditions, European countries and the concepts like democracy, nationalism, literacy, etc. From this, they came to know about their critical condition of economic exploitation, poverty and slavery system. 2. The rise of nationalism. The process of decolonization had begun late in Africa because of natural resource of Africa, separation among many caste, subcaste of African society and weaker national movements and Western education which were received late. At last, national movements led them to get their freedom. 3. National movement. This took place according to the name of country, name of leader and name of movement. So first, Gold Coast colony known as Ghana region, the leader Kwame Nkrumah organized the national movement. 2. Kenya, leader Jomo Kenyatta, Mau Mau movement. 3. West Rhodesia, today Zimbabwe, leader Robert Mugabe and the movement Patriotic Front Party. 4. South Africa, Nelson Mandela. Now we'll see the consequences of the decolonization. First, African nationalists were impressed by Mahatma Gandhi's non-violence movement held in Western Africa and Indian national movement. 2. Two reactions came out through national movement in Africa. One has to make treaty with the colonizer and to give freedom to them. That's why India, Brahmadesh, Sri Lanka, etc. nations from Asian countries received freedom. And second was the French, Holland, Portugal, etc. spoiled national movements. That's why Ghana, Rhodesia, Kenya, etc. nations obtained freedom very late. 3. England released its colonies which were under its power in Africa and Asia. Thus, the process of decolonization was completed.